Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Ken with Bettor Culture. Today, I'm talking to you about how you can copy your way to winning in sports betting. That's what I did, and I'm here to tell you about how I did it, why it works, and who you need to copy in order for you to get yourself to that winning side. Now, let me tell you a little bit about where I came from in sports betting. I was a guy that was not really into watching sports, so I knew that my sports knowledge was very minimal. So I looked to my friend who, we all grew up together. They were super into sports. I asked them what they're betting on and I followed their plays. Come to find out that yes, they're very knowledgeable in sports. They know all the stats. They know who's going to win. They're really good. They watch Sports Center all the time. But, when it came to that spread, they're just 50-50. And being 50-50 is actually a losing percentage, right? Because you're paying 110, you're paying a vig every time you lose. So if you're still hitting 50-50, then you're still losing, right? And so in the long run, you end up a loser. And so that's why that guys who are very knowledgeable in sports are not actually gonna be winners. And, so that's why I look to them, but they weren't actually winners. And why? It's because of that spread. When it comes to something like MMA or playing on the money line, you can call winning and losing and stuff like that. But, that's where you don't need the math necessarily, although you will have, you may end up losing anyways because you're paying minus 400 to win $100, right? Something like that. And so, for me, it was something that I knew that I was not good at sports. So I looked to other people to help me with that sports knowledge. But like I said, you might just win 50-50. And one of the things that these guys didn't understand was the math behind spreads and trends and stuff like that. There's no crunching numbers, which that brings me to why this actually works, because there are two distinct features about somebody who can actually beat the books, and that is somebody who's very knowledgeable in a sport, and they basically do all the research, stay up on all the data that's coming through, and they also understand the math. And most people can easily watch the data, watch the games, get the news and all that, but most people don't get the math side of it. And if you put those two together, that's what creates a winning sports bettor. And for me, I was not trying to learn. I was not somebody that would take in all the sports data, right? And myself, is I'm more of a math guy, but I'm not to the level where these math guys are. I understand that math is a factor, and I understand those kind of things, and that's how I was able to put myself in a position of understanding what's going on and being able to allow myself to be a winner with them. And all I did was basically partnered up with them and copy their bets. And that's how I was able to get myself to the winning level of sports betting and the professional level, basically, of sports betting. And there was one thing that I did that that I had to figure out along the way, because you can't just find anybody that's online and copy their plays. And I did that, right? I bought services from a lot of people. They called me all the time, selling me picks. I would go on the internet searching for handicappers, and not to knock them, but some of them were good, some of them were bad. But in reality, you're paying a lot of money for their service, and you may still end up losing. But one thing that I know about these services now that I understand is that you will lose if you start doing things on your own. The services are kind of provided for you to follow them exactly. And if you do, then you could end up a winner. But you'll have to remember that it's a long term type of deal, because when you get on a service, you can get on a losing week. Everybody is subject to losing, right? Nobody's always a winner. Although these services guys make want to make you think that they're always winning, right? But it's definitely not true. And so, like one of the things is you have to understand who's actually winning and who's actually losing. And I guess one of the first things that you have to realize for yourself is that you either need to follow the rules to what they're saying is not playing your own plays. But most people cannot follow that number one rule. And why? It's because everybody thinks that they know better. And for me, I always knew that I didn't know better. So I was able to just stick to what they gave me, stick to following those plays, and especially not parlays. If your handicapper is giving you these crazy parlays, I doubt that's not a long-term winning strategy. And I know because I work with a lot of people, and there's probably one or two that do parlays, and it's always a two team at max. And there's a special edge that they've been calculating that can allow them to do these two team parlays without it being a losing proposition, basically. So first of all, you got to know who you're going to follow. And that was one of the things that I had to figure out along the way. I lost a lot of money following the wrong people, but what I've learned is that you really have to follow it to a T. You have to follow it for the long run, and you just can't go willy-nilly off on the rails and start betting whatever you want, and because you're going to take your winnings and you're going to lose it. And that's definitely what you don't want to do. So besides, just getting the plays, you really have to understand your unit size, your own discipline, and things like that. Oh, and tracking your bets, because if you're not doing those things, you will end up being a loser in the long run. No matter if somebody was giving you all these winning plays, if you don't manage your own emotions, if you don't follow your units, and if you don't track your winnings, you'll never become a winner, even though somebody's feeding you winning plays. And that's because no matter who's feeding you plays, like let's say they're hitting at whatever percentage, they're not going to be hitting at 70%, right? If you believe that, then you're totally off, right? So they're going to be hitting like closer to 55%, maybe 60%, and it can all depend on the sport or the time of the season, right? Maybe somebody hit higher percentage in preseason, something like that. And if you're not keeping track of this data, this information, then you will feel like, let's say it's during you join them during a time where they're hitting really good, and then and then the next few weeks comes and they're losing, right? You're going to think that this guy sucks and he's really just a loser. But in the long run, you'll see that the winnings are more consistent. They'll stay there. And so if you're not tracking that, if you're not managing your own money, you're definitely going to end up a loser, because that's what he's been doing this whole time. He understands it. And if you don't follow those to a T, you're going to be the one end up losing. So, I'm going to be sharing one of the guys that I work with pretty soon. And because I've been tracking his stuff, looking at the consistency in the long run. And so that's something that I'm going to be sharing pretty soon. So, one thing that I just want you guys to get out of this is that it's super important to have bankroll management, not bet with your emotions, and kind of like always keeping track of where you're at with your funds, basically. And that's how you can take other people's plays and use them for yourself in your own sports book. And that's how you can get yourself to the winning side, rather than thinking that, oh, this guy's hitting barely 50-50 and you keep losing. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. Thank you for watching.